was a kid, there was a place. A dark place. They closed it down and let it rot. But the things that lived there,
Hello, Danny.
they come back.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Film Optics, and today we're going to be reviewing Dr. Sleep. My name is Christian and I'm joined by Devin as always. How are you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I saw 2 horror films today, Midsummer earlier today, and Dr. Sleep. So I'm on a roll. You know,
It's a big step in the right direction for you.
yeah, man. It's baby steps. You know, with Get Out and A Quiet Place. I felt like I was ready for the big leagues. So I went to go see Dr. Sleep, and I was like, you know what, this isn't bad at all, and I actually really enjoyed it. But before we get into today's review, you can listen to this review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Anchor, as well as a few others. I'll link in the description. And let me just get into the synopsis here really quick. So here's following the events of The Shining. A now adult Dan Torrance meets a young girl with similar powers as he tries to protect her from a cult known as the True Knot, who prey on children with powers to remain immortal. Directed.
I never heard the name of the cult in the movie. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't
Did
think
they
I
ever
did
mention
either.
that?
I don't believe so, to be completely honest. Not that I can recall. The runtime for this film is 2 hours and 31 minutes. So it's like a drama / fantasy. I wouldn't really say horror. I would say more of suspense, but whatever floats your boat.
It's definitely got some horror aspects. Mainly
Yeah.
that naked old lady.
Yeah, the naked old. She looks like an old clay lady. It's really weird. This was directed by Mike Flanagan and writer Stephen King, of course, based on the novel, and Mike Flanagan, who wrote the screenplay for this, and stars Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, Kaylee Curran, and so on and so forth, just to name a few. So I guess we'll start off with your initial thoughts on the on the movie overall, or like the trailer right before you saw the movie.
I was pretty much like excited as soon as I saw the trailer because I saw that it was being written and directed by Mike Flanagan. He's the same one that wrote and directed Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. And I recently binged that first season, and it's one of the best Netflix shows, and also just one of the best first seasons of a show I've ever seen. So
Really? I'll
Yeah.
definitely have to check that out.
I implore you to watch it.
I
It's so
implore you.
good.
No, you're gonna watch this right after this review.
So yeah, he's like a rising star in the horror genre. So it's good to see him continue his success.
kind of like Ari Aster, maybe.
Yeah, and Jordan Peele.
Yeah,
A lot of
and
talent
Jordan
in the
Peele.
horror.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I still haven't seen Us, but eventually one day I will. Just not today. But I would have to agree with you there. When I first saw the Dr. Sleep trailer and I saw Ewan McGregor, I was like, okay, this could definitely be pretty good. I've never seen The Shining myself, just to let everybody else know out there. I know what happens, bits and parts, but I've never sat down and watched it all the way through. So this was a new experience for me. The runtime, 2 hours and 31 minutes, but I think it was very well paced, and I was kind of interested to see, and I didn't know there was a sequel to The Shining novel, so that was pretty interesting for me at least. But
I didn't know there was either until I saw the trailer.
yeah, I was like, he has so many novels, and sometimes it's so hard to keep up with. But it seems that everybody is, adapting his novels.
This is the
nowadays.
year of Stephen King. There's been like so many movies.
It really has, man. It was In the Tall Grass or whatever it is on
Yeah,
Netflix.
there's In the Tall Grass, It Chapter 2, Pet Cemetery.
Oh yeah, I
this.
remember that.
There's
Huh.
so many. He's getting that bank this year.
He really is. I do know that Stephen King is not a big fan of the Shining adaptation on film, but
Yeah,
I mean,
he hated the Stanley Kubrick Shining adaptation because he took some liberties and didn't go directly what his book was representing.
well, I mean, which is
So
fine, but
so they had to like convince him for this movie to make it a direct sequel to that movie
mm,
because that's what flowed the best as far as making the movie out of the book. So they had to convince him, and he agreed, thankfully.
well, yeah, that is very very nice of him to let other people use his properties to make into films, because sometimes, you know, what I've learned is that, you know, these books don't, everything in a book does not automatically transition well onto a screen, and that's some,
Especially with Stephen King because he gets really wild and he gets out there.
he really
Some
does,
weird
man. His
stuff.
books are so thick, and it's like it's so detailed, and you know, how can you possibly fit that all in, even to a 2.5 hour movie? You know,
Yeah, definitely not easy.
yeah, it's insane. But so I guess we'll just overall, I guess we'll just start off with more of the non-spoiler section, then move on to the spoiler section. We'll let you guys know. But what were your initial? Well, I guess what were your thoughts after you saw the movie? Did you see this in Dolby or no?
I did.
Ooh, I saw it in a normal
Yeah.
theater right up
I
the
had
street
to
from
make
me.
the trek.
I wasn't willing to make the trek because I only had 30 minutes when I texted you. I was like, yo, Dr. Sleep starts in like 30 minutes. And I was over by Target. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do this bad boy. So
Yeah.
and I literally just left the house after watching Midsummer. So it's been a pretty big day for me so far. But yeah, I've definitely had to agree with you there. This it looked interesting, and I wanted to know what it was about, and watching it, it was just it kind of reminded me of, like, yeah, like they have these powers, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of X-Men in a way, or
Yeah, I can see that.
just like them having superpowers in overall. So that was pretty cool, and I kind of like how they during the beginning of the movie kind of covered what really happens during The Shining, and then moving forward for those who weren't acclimated to the story.
I also like how they kept it vague as far as what the powers were because different people had different shinings, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's like this little light.
It's not like a definition that you can use to describe it. It's just different for different people.
Right, and some powers seem more similar than others, but especially with that 15-year-old girl, I think she had like the power to, like, I guess it was to control people's actions every single time she spoke.
Yeah,
so it was
she kept stealing pedophiles' money at the theater. That was pretty good.
She like left those little quote unquote snake marks, and I guess we're just getting into spoilers, which is totally fine. So spoiler warning from here on out, folks, when we're talking about Dr. Sleep. But yeah, that part was pretty cool. I think my favorite part was like just the telepathic communications between Danny and oh my gosh, what was her name? Abra?
It's such a cool name. How can you forget? It's like the coolest name I've heard in a movie.
Yeah.
Abra Stone.
Abra Stone. It's a name
so
and
cool.
and a Pokemon. So
yeah,
there you
it
go.
has the same type powers as the Pokemon. So
pretty
it's
much. It was like 11, but on like steroids with her powers.
Yeah.
It was pretty insane. But I really did enjoy like the telekinetic conversations that they had. It just made it sound very real, and this movie didn't seem cheesy at all. This is about Danny Torrance, who's pretty much kind of down on his luck during the beginning of the movie. He's an
alcoholic, drug addict,
yeah,
having sex with weird ladies and throwing up on them,
and then leaving the child in the bed right next to him and trying to steal her money.
Yeah.
But his better conscience. So that black guy, was he in The Shining?
I believe so.
Okay, that makes more sense, because I
I haven't seen it in a while either.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the villains. It did feel like they came out of nowhere, though. That was my one little concern about it. During the very beginning, when they steal that girl Violet, who her shine is bright as the stars above, or whatever you want to call it. Then her mom's like, oh, don't venture out too far, and then she just like walks straight to this girl, this lady.
It was so creepy seeing them like all come out of the woods one by one and then just start walking towards.
Yeah,
so creepy.
I was like, they kept switching back. She was like, "Oh, don't pay attention to them." I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean not paying attention to them? It's like, no, they're growing in numbers now.
Yeah,
but yeah,
to me, Rose the Hat definitely stole the show. Rebecca Ferguson's main villain character.
I agree.
She was just so menacing and evil, and like every time she was on the screen, you could just tell something was gonna go weird or random.
I totally agree there, man. It is, yeah. I liked how, you know, with her and her interactions with Abra were really cool. You know, them playing mind games and trying to get into each other's minds to dig up information, and especially with Ferguson's character, she was obviously she was the leader of the group, but you know, she just seemed more obsessed than most with finding children who shine, you know, who have the X gene. I guess she could. I thought that was so funny. I'm like, this seems so much like X-Men, you know. And when they finally go back to The Shining, I think that was one of my favorite parts. But honestly, I think my favorite part of the movie is when they're doing the shootout.
Oh yeah,
in the
that
woods.
was a cool part.
Yeah, that was pretty
Definitely
sweet.
didn't expect a shootout in a movie like this.
Shit, they were picking off people left and right, man. Did you see that? I was like,
and then at the end, when our good buddy Billy, she's about to die, and she goes, "Kill yourself." Just
I was like, no.
I actually didn't see that coming. It was actually pretty well executed.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of things in here I did not see coming. I think my other favorite scene in the movie is when, you know, Danny's a little kid and he goes to the bathroom and that like ugly clay lady's in there. And he just walks in and she steps out. It's like, are you guys gonna like make a transaction or something? Is that
he's like, I own this bitch now.
Yeah, he closes the door. He really screams and he walks back out. Comes sit back down on the couch with his mom. She's like, "You're okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, "Yo, what is this guy doing right now?" He's just, you know, locking up all these monsters inside of these boxes. I guess, you know, they're just locked deep in his subconscious.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool how they all kind of were let out at once, and R.I.P. to Rebecca Ferguson's character.
Yeah.
So that was pretty sweet. You know, they kind of swarmed around. I was like, oh man, I'm like, what's gonna happen once they're done? And then they all looked at him and I was like, no.
Yeah. It was also like really gory, like some of the parts, like when she gets her hand stuck in that file cabinet.
Yeah.
That was disgusting.
That was insane.
And then when he gets stabbed in the leg and she keeps like pushing into it.
Whew. Yeah, there definitely was a few scenes in there that had a lot of blood and gore, but all for naught, it wasn't really that many. It wasn't like I was expecting a lot more, to be completely honest with you, but you know, that happens the way it does.
Yeah, they didn't overuse it, and the times they did use it, it was effective.
Right. And then what's his face from Good Boys is in this movie. His character dies fairly quickly, but
I definitely didn't know he was in it.
And I heard that he was in it, and I totally forgot that he was when I went to go see it.
Our buddy Jacob Tremblay.
Jacob Tremblay.
The good boy himself.
He did a really good job for the small part that he had.
Yeah, it's interesting to see him play a role where he gets killed miserably.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you were literally showing us the murder of a child on screen right now. That's totally normal, you know what I mean?
Pretty brutal.
It's very, very brutal. But man, did you have any issues with the movie overall? Like, I know we've been talking a lot about, you know, the good stuff, and I like mentioned one earlier, but did you have any other gripes?
Yeah, I had a couple small things. One of them being that the rest of the evil villain crew just really didn't matter at all. They were kind of just there. Like the one grandpa guy, he looked creepy, but then there were like 3 or 4 other people that were just there and just stood in the background.
Yeah,
I understand they can't really get any background, but they didn't really do anything.
Yeah, I wish we went a little bit more in depth into their background, especially with the grandpa or the great uncle, when, you know, he's been feeding off of these shining kids for so long. But, you know, Rebecca Ferguson's character is like, you know, eat well and live long, when she turns the what's her name, Snake Bites or something like that, when she turns the 15-year-old girl into one of
Snakebite Andy.
Snakebite Andy, yeah, craziest thing ever. But I'm like, hey, it works, you know. So Oh well. Well,
And
I
then
really.
I'd say the one other big gripe I have is when they were doing flashbacks to the original movie and like original parts of the first movie, they weren't able to get the original actors, and the ones they got didn't really look like what they were supposed to look like.
Yeah, I totally agree, man.
Like Jack Nicholson was supposed to be the one that was the bartender, and I mean he looked okay, but just didn't look like Jack Nicholson.
Was that the same guy in The Shining who like broke the door and was like looking through?
Yeah,
Was that the same? Okay, that's what I thought. It was the
yeah,
same guy.
it's Danny's dad.
Okay, okay, I got
And
you.
then
I got you.
the mom in the beginning looked nothing like the actor from The Shining.
Oh, really? I kind
Yeah,
of figured that.
I'll show you a picture.
Oh, got some pictures coming in here, ladies and gentlemen. So that'll be
Like
fun.
she has a very distinct look,
Oh yeah, I see. Definitely, very, very distinct.
and it looks nothing like the
Nothing
one
like
they got.
that. And clearly, you know, they can't get the same kid. Can't get the same kid. It's like, hey, is that kid still available? I think he's grown up by now. So yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely cool getting those characters in the movie, but it really took me out of it seeing that they didn't look anything like they were supposed to.
I got you. I got you. And see, and that's the difference between me and you. You know, I've never seen The Shining all the way through, and you have. So, you know, you have a little bit more of an emotional connection tie to this movie overall. But yeah, I don't think I have too many other gripes other than the ones that I mentioned, and definitely the ones that you mentioned. I think that this movie really speaks volumes. I think it was man, what am I think it was a good time overall. You know, I think a lot more
I do think it was a tad too long.
a tad
Just a
too
little
long.
bit.
Yeah.
It kind of dragged for like in the beginning. It kind of dragged a little.
Right. Yeah, it kind of did. But like I really like the pacing of the movie, so I didn't mind as much. And I think I only checked my watch once only because my Apple Watch was like blowing up with all of these Facebook messengers from the Cinemania squad. So I had to put that on silent. But other than that, you know, I really do like how everything pretty much came back together, and the
It was a really cool final showdown.
yeah, it really was, you know, with Danny's character essentially giving up his life, you know, to be with his mother, because his mother died in The Shining, didn't she?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured. But I really like the transition when, you know, he's in the boiler room, and you know she's like holding him as like an adult, and then it kind of pans back, and then he's like a kid again. I was like, oh, that's really nice. They can.
Oh wait, no, I don't think she died. She was in the beginning of this movie, and that was like after The Shining.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She was after The Shining. Sorry, I don't know why he did that then, but I really did like how they tackled his alcoholism for sure.
Yeah, and it being him like using alcohol to suppress The Shining because he didn't want to have to deal with his past.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Sorry about that. That was a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was you know, and it wasn't like, it was more of a struggle for him, you know, when he seeks help from his friend who, you know, gives him the new place to live, and you know, he almost takes a drink a few times, but he stops himself because you know, throughout the movie he becomes 8 years sober. So I think that was a nice little message there as well. But was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up here?
I think that's it.
All right.
I really liked the this song, the main theme song that was in the trailer.
Yeah, it was very haunting, wasn't it? Kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that bum,
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 bum, bum, bum,
I tried to
bum.
find it on Spotify, but I couldn't find like a quality version of it.
Yeah, it's so hard sometimes. It kind of reminded me of the score from the Joker a little bit, you know, just eerie enough to where, you know, it's making a huge effect on what's happening on screen. So, what would you give this movie out of 100?
Something like a solid 78.
Okay.
It's not perfect or anything, or not great, but definitely a good movie.
Okay. I was actually going to go with an 80, but I think I'll just bump it up to an 81 just to say good job, team, to everyone who was involved. Nowhere near as a perfect movie, but it definitely kept me interested throughout the entire time. I was very entertained, and I somewhat felt attached to these characters, especially, you know, Ewan McGregor playing as an older version of Dan Torrance, you know. So
Yeah, unlike Gemini Man, this movie did not make me want to fall asleep.
man, oh man, don't get
Maybe
me
that movie could have
started.
been called Doctor Sleep.
Dr. Snooze. You
I'm
know.
kind of curious as to why they didn't release it a little earlier, because it's like kind of a perfect Halloween movie.
Yeah, and I was talking to Dwayne about this over at on Cinemania World that a lot of these horror films, excuse me, or suspense thrillers normally come out throughout the rest of the year. It's not just in October, but my thing is, at least like start releasing them in like September if you really want to. But I
Yeah,
guess
especially for this case, it's like a week after Halloween. Like you really couldn't push it up a week or two.
honestly though, but hey, it kind of saved our our skins for what's coming out this week, with Ring of Fire and I God knows what else. I really don't know. It was between this and Motherless Brooklyn for me, and I'm really glad I went to go see Doctor Sleep instead. But I believe that's just going to be the end of our review of Doctor Sleep, everyone. Thank you for coming on, as always, Devin. And everyone listening at home, let us know your favorite parts of Doctor Sleep. I'm going to upload this to YouTube. You can listen to us here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor. So, we're pretty much all over the place. And I believe our next review will be Midsummer, just because I know it's a little bit later, but it's never too late to talk about Florence Pugh. So that's
Not Pug.
I swear, dude, I thought it was Pug for the longest time. I was like, oh, you guys are Florence Pug, because like looking at it, it looks like it would be pronounced that way because it's like Pug, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of glad like I didn't like go out and like public and say that, because a lot of my reactions and stuff have been on Twitter, so people just kind of hear what they want to hear. They don't hear me saying Pug. But yes, Florence Pugh.
Yes.
So we'll probably review that next, just to kind of celebrate. I saw Midsummer, and we have a lot to say about the matter. But anyway, thank you for everyone tuning in to this Film Optix review. Just keep a lookout for our Midsummer review. We're going to try to start uploading these on start getting a little bit of a schedule going, start uploading these on Sunday, even though we are recording this on a Saturday. So I believe Doctor Sleep and Midsummer will be up for Sunday, and then from there on out we'll be moving onwards. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Peace.